Welcome to another story made by Oracle One. The sky stretched wide and dull over the neighborhood of Maplewood as Samuel Reynolds parked his aging sedan outside the quiet, cream-colored building of Little Blossom's daycare. It was a modest structure surrounded by a white picket fence, a few bushes from trimmed hedges guarding the walkway from the street. Samuel glanced at his watch. 5 minutes before daycare closed. He hoped to be right on time. The weight of the day's exhaustion sagged in his shoulders, but he smiled at the thought of seeing Lily. The bell tinkled as he entered the small lobby, its fluorescent lights buzzing softly overhead. A few scattered toys lay abandoned near a reading carpet where a toddler was quietly occupied with wooden blocks. From down the corridor, a soft chorus of children's voices echoed. Mrs. Dalton, the daycare's lead caregiver, approached him with a warm smile. "Good afternoon, Mr. Reynolds. Lily is ready for you," she said, beckoning towards the exit. Samuel felt his chest lift as he hurried around the side of the building to the playground where a group of children were being gathered after their final playtime. Then he saw her, small, curly blonde hair tied up in 2 ponytails. Blue eyes scanning the children before her, a bright pink backpack strapped over her tiny shoulders. His heart warmed as he called, "Lily." The little girl's eyes met his, and a smile broke across her face. "Daddy," she chirped, quickening her pace to his arms. Samuel picked her up, the familiar scent of baby shampoo and freshly washed hair enveloping him. "Did you have a good day, sweetheart?" he asked quietly. She nodded, hugging him tightly. The drive home was uneventful. Lily chatted about storytime and the new friend she made, Olivia. Samuel listened with affectionate amusement, grateful for this moment of normalcy. But as they pulled into the driveway, a subtle unease crept into his thoughts. He couldn't articulate it yet. Perhaps it was simply the exhaustion clouding his senses. The next morning, the same routine. The same smile. But as he spoon-fed Lily breakfast, he caught a fleeting look out of the corner of his eye. A glint in her pupils that seemed wrong. The innocence that should have been there was slightly off, like she was mimicking a child but didn't quite understand what she was imitating. "Lily, are you okay?" he asked, setting the spoon down on the plate. She looked up, silent, blue eyes wide and unblinking. The flatness in her gaze sent shivers down his spine. "I'm fine, Daddy," she said in a voice that sounded strained, overly formal. Samuel laughed nervously. "All right, sweetie." Yet the feeling persisted, a gnawing pit in his stomach that something was wrong. Days passed, and the odd moments multiplied. Lily began to do things she never would have done before. She would stare at him for minutes without blinking, then suddenly burst into incoherent laughter that climbed like static in the air. She showed an uncanny aptitude for imitating voices, sometimes murmuring strange phrases in a language he couldn't recognize, a string of guttural syllables she claimed were part of a game with friends. Samuel disturbed himself further one evening while tucking her into bed. The little girl, who had always been a night owl, seemed lethargic and listless, her body too heavy for his arms. "Sweetheart, do you feel all right?" he asked, brushing a lock of hair from her face. She whispered back, "I'm not Lily." The words froze him in place. "Who are you?" he demanded quietly, a cold tremor crawling up his spine. She tilted her head, eyes reflecting a profound, alien wisdom beyond her years. "I am what she is not. I am what she became." Samuel staggered back, heart pounding. The room closed in around him. His daughter's presence felt wrong, contaminated. He grabbed the dresser lamp and flicked it on, the harsh light illuminating the soft edges of her face. But something about her shimmered, like heat waves distorting reality. "Please," he pleaded, "tell me who took my daughter." But she only smiled then, a slow, creeping smile that chilled him to his bones, a smile full of secrets and horrors he wasn't prepared to face. The following few days blurred into a waking nightmare. Samuel's attempts to bond with Lily became exercises in terror. Sometimes she refused to respond. At others, she spoke in riddles about the others beneath the earth and the waiting shadows. One evening, after she had fallen asleep, Samuel sat staring at the ceiling, mind racing. Desperately, he scoured his phone for anything odd recorded at the daycare. A series of comments and whispers from other parents mentioned children behaving strangely, acting out in ways that seemed beyond the normal limits of childhood rebellion. A chilling thought crept in. What if the child he had picked up from that daycare was not his daughter at all? He looked at the sleeping girl in the next room, the dim glow of the streetlight casting ghostly shadows through the blinds. The door creaked open suddenly. There stood Lily, or the being wearing her skin like a suit, eyes black as storm clouds. "Why do you look at me like that?" it whispered. Samuel's heart stopped. "Because you aren't her. You came for my daughter." The entity laughed softly, a sound that slithered into his soul. "You are wise beyond your years, Samuel. But I have grown tired of waiting." Before Samuel could scream, the room warped around him, shadows stretching and coiling like living things. A coldness like death seeped into his bones. The creature stepped closer, hands trembling as it reached out, touching his forehead. His mind exploded into 1,000 visions. Children disappearing into the ground beneath the daycare. Voices chanting in an abandoned tongue. A dark pit swallowing innocence whole. The last thing Samuel remembered before blacking out was the creature whispering, "That isn't your daughter anymore." When Samuel awoke, he was in a hospital bed, head throbbing, breath shallow. Nurses fussed over him, words echoing indistinctly. His wife, Mara, was beside him, tears wet on her cheeks. "Sam," she sobbed, "your daughter, we found her body in the woods near the daycare. She never came home that day." Samuel's world shattered. The Lily he had cherished and talked with for the past week was never real. He had been living with a mimic, a creature that wore the skin of his daughter after Lily had been taken, dragged into the darkness that lurked just beneath the surface of their peaceful town. The real horror was just beginning. Samuel returned home after discharge, finding the house empty and hollow, silence echoing the void in his heart. But something lingered, a presence watching from the shadows. At the daycare, the building was condemned, boarded up. But each night, from the cracked windows, ephemeral laughter and faint whispers drifted into the air. Samuel began to investigate, driven by a need to uncover the truth. He dug into the history of Little Blossoms and found disturbing accounts from decades ago. Children vanishing without a trace, strange symbols carved into the walls. Local legend spoke of a rift beneath the daycare, a gateway to an ancient realm where lost souls were trapped. These entities wore faces to deceive, stealing children's identities to live among the living. Every parent who had entrusted their children to that place refused to speak about what happened. Samuel's nightmares became worse. He saw his daughter's face replaced by the shadowy creature's grinning maw. His dreams were filled with haunting lullabies sung by 1,000 lost children trapped beneath the earth. One evening as he paced the room, Lily's eerie voice echoed from the corner. "Father, we wait. Come join us." He turned, heart pounding. A dark mass coalesced, shifting into the visage of a child. It reached hands like branches for him. Samuel retreated, but the creature followed, relentless. His reality slipped, teetering on the edge of madness. Desperate to save his daughter's soul, Samuel ventured back to the daycare at midnight, the gates creaking like ancient bones as he pushed them open. Inside the shadows coiled. Whispered voices surrounded him, calling his name, promising release. He descended into the basement, a cavernous space that stank of rot and forgotten sorrow. The walls pulsed with a cruel heartbeat, symbols glowing faintly in the dark. At the center was a rift, an abyssal maw sealing the gateway between worlds. There stood Lily, or what remained. A twisted amalgam of innocence and horror, her eyes voids of endless night. "Father," she said, voice fractured yet familiar. "Will you take my place?" Samuel screamed, battling the nightmarish entity. For a moment, it paused, the rift throbbing in hunger. Then, with a sudden lunge, he reached out, grabbing her hand. "Come home, Lily. Let's fight this together." The ground trembled violently, shadows clawing at them. The air thickened, but Samuel summoned every ounce of love and hope. Light burst from Lily's eyes, piercing through the darkness. The rift began to close, pulling shadows into the void. With one final cry, the creature vanished, leaving the real Lily behind, smiling weakly but alive. They escaped as dawn broke, the daycare's curse momentarily broken. Samuel knew the evil was not gone nor entirely defeated, but he had his daughter back. As they walked home, hand in hand, a chilling breeze whispered through the trees, a reminder that some doors remain better left unopened. For more stories, like and subscribe.